All right, so today we're really diving into something that I think a lot of people are thinking about, especially now, navigating leadership.
Hmm.
But specifically, we got a request from a listener who's asking about men over 50
Yeah.
and their roles in leadership now, and how they can really, lead effectively in a changing world.
Yeah.
So let's unpack that a little bit because,
Yeah.
we've all seen those movies, right? Like the old school boardroom, bunch of guys in suits, maybe smoking cigars, and that's just not what leadership always looks like anymore, is it?
No, not at all. I mean, it's definitely not your father's boardroom anymore, right?
Exactly.
We are seeing a lot more women, just diversity in general across all industries, really. And it's something that I think is really important, and it's something that we need to talk about more because how do
Oh
we,
yeah.
work together?
Well, and that's kind of the crux of what this listener is asking about, right? It's
Yeah.
like, okay, how do men over 50
Mm-hmm.
who maybe, came up in a different time,
Mm-hmm.
how do they adapt and thrive in this new environment?
Right.
Because it is new.
It is new. And, to your point, it's like they were navigating a very different landscape, right?
Yeah.
Where it was, maybe there weren't as many women around. Maybe they didn't have those mentors.
Right, different mentors.
Different mentor, exactly.
Different perspectives.
Exactly. And so, how do they take that experience, but also realize that, some things have changed?
Yeah, and that's not a bad thing.
No, not at all.
It's just different.
It's just different.
And I think that's what we really want to get at here, is how can men over 50 look at this as an opportunity? Not as like, everything I knew is gone,
Right.
but like, oh, wow, there's all these new ways of thinking, of leading, of doing. And it's not about saying one way is better than the other.
Right.
It's just different.
It's just about understanding those differences and figuring out how to leverage them.
Right.
Because, like you said, it's not about saying one is better than the other. It's about saying, well, how can we all work together to achieve a common goal?
And to your point, there might be times where those differences can lead to misunderstandings
Oh, absolutely.
or maybe conflicts
Right.
if you're not aware of it.
For sure.
So how can men, especially those who might have been used to a certain way of doing things,
Mhm.
how can they make sure they're not misreading a situation?
Yeah, I think it's about communication, right? Like it's about active listening. It's about being open to hearing things that maybe you're not used to or that you don't understand and being willing to actually listen and not just listen to respond, but listen to truly understand.
Yeah, it's that empathy piece
Exactly.
that I think is so important.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad you brought up the listening part because
Yeah.
I think so often we listen to reply, not to understand.
Right. We're already formulating our response
Yeah.
before they even finish talking.
Exactly. And that's not helpful in any situation,
Not at all.
but especially
Especially in this context. Yeah.
when we're talking about working with people who might have had very different experiences than us
Yeah.
and who might, approach things from a completely different angle.
Exactly.
Um, another thing that I think is really important here is the idea of mentorship.
Yeah.
And I know we've talked about this in the past,
We have.
but how can men over 50
Yeah.
really leverage their experience to be incredible allies and advocates for women in leadership while also learning from them?
Well, and that's the great thing about mentorship, right? Is that it's a two-way street,
It is.
So I think, for men over 50, you have a wealth of experience.
Right.
You've seen a lot, you've done a lot, you have so much to offer, but you also have,
Sure.
just like we were saying earlier, there are different perspectives out there. And so being open to learning from those, even if they are, younger than you, or they have less experience than you,
Right.
you can still learn from them.
Absolutely.
And I think that's really the key here.
I love that.
Yeah.
Because it really is about this, like, creating a richer
Oh,
tapestry of experiences
exactly.
and perspectives. And
Yeah.
that's how we all grow
Oh, so absolutely.
as individuals and then also as organizations, as a society.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, like, why would you not want to have all these different perspectives
Right.
and experiences at the table?
Right. Exactly.
You know.
You don't want to be in an echo chamber.
Exactly.
That's not how
That's how you get stuck.
That's how you get stuck. That's how you get, stale. So I love this idea of men over 50 really stepping up
Yeah.
and not just being mentors,
Right.
but also being mentees,
Absolutely.
because that's how we all learn and grow.
For sure.
So for you listening out there, think about that for a second. Like,
Yeah.
how can you contribute to that richer tapestry? How can you share your experience, but also be open to learning from others? I think that's something I'm going to be pondering myself. Until next time on The Deep Dive.